Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of The Grandstand here on the Ohio Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, AR, the Ohio Patriot. And for today's episode, we're going to talk about Ohio HJR6 and why it is common sense legislation and should be the first thing that the 135th General Assembly passes next year. So we're going to get into what this actually is before I get into that. I was on Hana's chat last night, and unfortunately I didn't get a chance to really say a whole lot because my chest and other stuff was definitely having issues and stuff like that. I'm not sure if I'm getting the same exact thing I had at the end of last year coming into this year, where it was I basically caught COVID for the first time, and then I ended up having like bronchitis a few weeks after that, and it basically became like a whole 6-week ordeal is what it was. I'm hoping that's not what it is, honestly, because if that's what it is, like, Jesus. But yeah, basically I'm fighting something off still, and it's a real pain in the ass is what it is. But I did want to talk about this because this is actually one of the pieces of legislation that the Ohio General Assembly did not get a chance to pass the other day, mostly because a bunch of stupid fucking cunts and Moms of Man Action and other Democrat leftists were freaking the fuck out on the House floor and should have been arrested for insurrection right then and there that day. But going on to actually read what this is, because I actually thought this was a different thing than what it actually is, because I was thinking this is how having up the amount of people you have to have to sign a petition or whatever to even get it on the ballot measure. No, it would be the actual voting, how many people it takes to vote it through as actual thing to change our constitution, which is even better actually. And I would even go further and say, yeah, the one for to put stuff on the ballot should be the thing as well on that one. And if nothing else, I might just work with the General Assembly next year to help them pass something where it would be something like that as well, where it's basically, hey, if this thing can be deemed, unconstitutional, whatever the case be, if it's like a direct infringement upon our constitutional rights, keep and bear arms and stuff like that, the Secretary of State or whoever's office it would go to should be immediately doing their job and throwing it out for being a piece of shit legislation, never allowing it to be on the ballot to begin with, is what it is. Because in many, many cases, that's exactly what this crap is, dude. It is absolute trash legislation. It is complete garbage legislation. And it would be nothing more than something like ballot measure 114 is what it would be, where you have, that now rifle being challenged in the court system because it is unconstitutional. And that's the problem with most of the shit, dude. Most of the shit is unconstitutional as fuck is what it is. And yet nobody is talking about it. Nobody really seems to give a shit about it because it's not directly affecting their ability to do stuff is what it is. Or even worse, they are allowing it to go through because they understand that, yeah, this is how you push crap through and you don't actually have the voter base here to change our state laws otherwise is what it is, and get people in our General Assembly to do their job there is what it would be then, to push your leftist agenda crap is what it is. And that's what I'm personally so sick and tired of, dude, is these fucking leftists that want to sit there and push 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 and not do a damn thing to actually help out the citizenry here, just want to sit here and fuck us over constantly, when in reality they have done absolutely nothing to help this state at all, and are just a bunch of assholes is what it is, dude, in most cases. Like, they don't care for a fucking second what is with our constitution, what we actually have as a constitution, etc. All they care about is basically getting the last word in edgewise, or basically fucking us over in some other ways what it is, dude. Or like I said, pushing their leftist agenda of anti-gun crap for Bloomberg that's paying all their money and their bills and stuff like that. And yeah, it's a bunch of shit entirely, dude. And, you can look back at scumbags like Allison Russo, who literally took a bribe on camera from Moms of Man Action over a year ago in our state house. And yet she's still sitting in our General Assembly because nobody has actually investigated her ass for this shit, which is absolutely ridiculous, dude, at this point. It's like, come on, dude, for real. Like, she can be proven to be a fucking criminal, investigate her criminal ass, and put her away in the fucking prison where she belongs already, for God's sakes. Like, it does not take a fucking rocket scientist to figure this shit out, dude. All it takes is some autistic fuck like me to get it done is what it is, man. Seriously. But, anyway, so going on to actually discuss the HJR6 here from legiscan.com. What it would do is basically proposing to amend sections 1B, 1E, and 1G of Article 3 and sections 1 and 3 of Article 26 of the Constitution of the State of Ohio to require a vote of at least 60% of the electors to approve any constitutional amendment. That's all this would do. And the fact that you had a bunch of leftists, and when I say a bunch, I mean legitimately maybe a couple of dozen, 50, 60 at most, freaking the fuck out on the 13th in our state house because they're like, oh, our vote counts, our vote counts. It does. But you know what doesn't count? You trying to push anti-gun shit or anti-life shit or anything else like that on our fucking actual ballots to fuck with our state constitution is what it is. And that's the thing about Ohio, dude. Article 1, Section 4 of Ohio guarantees every Ohioan in this state the right to keep and bear arms. How long before you would have 50% and one vote after that? So it would be, and when you talk about how many people were actually in the 2022 midterms here for voting and stuff like that, somebody figured out it's about 54% of the actual voter base in the state, which is roughly about 4 to 5 million people. So you're talking about out of the 11 million people that live in Ohio, obviously there's some that are, kids that can't vote is what it is and stuff like that. Nor should they be able to at that point. And we could even have discussions all day long about why we should up the voting age at this point from 18 to 25, honestly. But that's besides the point. The entire point is that what you end up having is a situation where you have 50% of the people that have the ability to vote in the state and equate to about 4-ish million people or so. So what you're talking about is essentially 2-ish million, and then one more vote on top of that could change the state of Ohio's constitution for 9 million other people and allow for abortion on demand or allow for fucking, you no longer have constitutional rights in the state, or your Second Amendment rights no longer exist here, or we're now going to push a bunch of red flag anti-gun shit on your constitution now and stuff like that. And as Brian Stewart, made the argument the other day in his thing to other members of the General Assembly, he was talking about that, and he was saying specifically, almost every single time you have had some group in the state of Ohio in the past 10 years or so try to push something into our state constitution, it was always some special interest group from outside the state, dude. And that's what it always is. And you can look at it from that perspective almost all the time, dude. The only time that it was not, as far as I can tell, was in this last General Assembly where you had actual people who were pushing for a better, what am I saying now? They were pushing for a better, what do you call a thing? Stronger penalties for criminals in the state is what it was. So you could actually have judges do their job properly and be able to, anybody that would be like a risk to society and stuff like that, they could basically amend the bail to be higher than it would normally be by default is what it would be then. So it would give them the leeway to do that kind of stuff with criminal justice reform. And the other ballot initiative this go around was stopping illegal aliens from voting in our state, as it should be. And of course, the same leftists that are pissed off about HRJ6 are super pissed off about HB 458, which would basically allow for the state of Ohio to have the ability to stop people who have no legal right to vote in our fucking state, have no legal right to vote in this country, period, not just the state of Ohio, with proper voter ID laws, where you'd actually have to show an actual driver's license or state identification card with your picture on it and your name on it, everything else like that, to where you could be properly identified, and it would do away with stupid shit like fucking, oh, here's your utility bill that anybody could fucking steal out of your mailbox. Here's a fucking I don't forget what the other things are. It's like a couple other things like that, dude. It's like a utility bill or some kind of other piece of thing like that and stuff like that. And it's like, dude, as if that shit can't be fucking tampered with, or people don't steal fucking mail and shit like that, dude. There's been seriously, every time I turn on the news anymore in this state, you got fucking a bunch of gangs of what looks like black teens at this point who are running around stealing fucking keys from various mail drivers in the state of Ohio, dude, and stealing a bunch of fucking mail and shit. Like, how hard would it be for them to steal a bunch of fucking mail like that and then go around and sell the fucking shit to some black market site or whatever the case be, and then those people simply sell that mail to illegal aliens that would then have that name as what it is, and you go into a place to vote, and all of a sudden now you're going to vote and stuff. And the thing that pisses me off the most about the whole thing is like, you got people being like, oh, but what about Ohio? Ohio's never had any issues with voting and stuff like that. There's never been any voting things reported to the Secretary of State and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, dude, how the fuck are you going to report to the Secretary of State when you don't even have the ability to prove that you're you at that point? When somebody has stolen your ability to even vote in a fucking election cycle. And yes, that shit is going on not only in the state of Ohio, it's going on everywhere in this country, dude. Where you have dead people put back on our fucking voter rolls, dude. Where you have illegals on the fucking voter rolls. Where you have everybody in between that does not need to be on the voter rolls the fucking voter rolls, dude. There is so much of the fucking chicanery going on in this country. It's not even funny, dude. And I am sick and fucking tired of it, dude. It's something I have seen consistently going on here for decades and decades. And I am personally sick of it, man. You know, whether it be Sherrod Brown's cheat in 2018, whether it be fucking Biden's cheat in 2020, I could keep going, honestly, dude, on that. But that's two of the biggest, best examples right now, dude. And that's the biggest problem with this country right now. Nobody's doing anything about it, dude. Because you have shitty-ass fucking people in office that don't give a damn about actually caring about people's constitutional rights in this country. And you have these activist-ass judges that are simply denying fucking elections and stuff like that, dude, is what it is. And denying people the right to actually have a voice to say, hey, maybe we should do fucking election audits here. And actually do election audits in these states, dude, is what it is. That would prove that shit very quickly. That there was a bunch of chicanery going on there. So, anyway. But, yeah, it's had a favorable pass the other day of 7-5. And when you look at who actually voted for it, it was every Republican voted in favor of it. Every Democrat voted it down, dude. Pieces of shit like Richard Brown is going to be out of office come next year, thank fucking God. Stupid fucks like Dontavius Jarrells, who shouldn't even be in our General Assembly because his congressional seat is a by default fucking win, dude. It is such a Democrat stronghold, nobody runs in the fucking district besides that, dude. So it's a one-person fucking race at that point. Fuck that. Get rid of that entire congressional seat. Elgin Rogers Jr., another motherfucker who should be gone out of here already, dude. I believe he was one of the people that won by default, and I think they let him in early is what it was, dude, because whoever was in that seat before that had vacated early or something like that is what it was. And now this dude's basically been appointed early is what it would be then, dude, because he was going to win anyway by default is what it was. And yeah, it's a bunch of crap there as well, dude. Like, it's all a bunch of shit entirely, dude. And I'm sick and tired of it, man. I really am. I am sick and tired of watching this state get fucked over by a bunch of assholes is what it is. And then you had fucking Mike Skindell on there as well, and that piece of shit Bride Rose Sweeney, who I always confuse with Bridget Kelly for some reason, dude. Like, Sweeney's actually the decent looking of the two. Bridget Kelly is very, very ugly and looks like a human shark, honestly, dude. She kind of looks like a really discount version of Gretchen Whitmer, honestly, a little bit. And, yeah, it's just real weird. Very creepy in general, though. But, yeah, it's a bunch of crap, dude, is what it is. And you have these fucking people that are going to sit there and fuck with our rights and fuck with our ability to do stuff. And it's like, why are you fucking voting this shit down, dude? Oh, it's because it directly stops you from fucking cheating in future election cycles is what it is. That's why. And that's exactly what it is at the end of the day, dude. They don't give a fuck about us. They don't give a fuck about our actual constitution. Hell, they don't give a fuck about their own constituency is what it is, dude. You really think anybody that is a Democrat in the state of Ohio who is in the Ohio General Assembly right now, or will be there in 2023, gives a fuck about a Republican or an independent or any other voter that is technically their constituent because the district represents what it is, dude? Fuck no, they don't. Fuck no, they don't. They don't give a shit about those people's voices at all. At least Republicans in our state house actually seem to care and will talk to everybody, it seems like, dude. And yeah, they can hear a bunch of stupid shit too from Democrats and stuff like that in their districts and stuff. And they'll call them out like they see it, dude, is what it is. And be like, no, this is why I voted for this kind of thing and stuff. Hell, I've talked to people before, like Tim Ginter, his office, or I've talked to Tom Brinkman's office before and stuff like that, and left messages with them. And I was like, why is it that this person voted this way? Is what it was. Never heard back from him, obviously. And that was my thing. Like, all I wanted was an answer, honestly, dude, is what it was. It's like, yeah. And the thing with Brinkman, actually, when I called up his office the one time, it was because it was a constitutional carry bill that we were voting through that day. And I was like, yeah, I understand that, he didn't have his amendment be added to this because of, like, the time that they claimed he didn't have to put it through or whatever it was. Like, was that the reason why? And you would think that the aide guy in his office would have been like, yeah, that was probably the reason why, or whatever the case be. And he's like, yeah, I don't have an answer for that. And I'm like, come on, bro. You can do better than that, man. Like, at least make some shit up for real. Like, that was just a piss poor answer, honestly, is what it was, dude. But anyway. But yeah, going on to read the actual text of this House Joint Resolution 6 by Brian Stewart here. Says, where are we at? Proposing, and then it talks about the proposal of the amendment to 6% legislator. Be it resolved by the General Assembly of the State of Ohio, 3/5 of the members elected to each house concurring herein, that there shall be submitted to the electors of the state in the manner prescribed by law at a special election to be held on May 2nd, 2023, a proposal to amend sections 1B, 1E, and 1G of Article 2 and sections 1 and 3 of Article 26 of the Constitution of the State of Ohio to read as follows. Section 1B, when at any time less than 10 days prior to the commencement of any session of the General Assembly, there shall have been filled with the Secretary of State a petition signed by 3 per centum of the electors, 3% people is what it is in the state, and verified as herein provided, proposing a law, that full text of which shall have been seen or shall have been set forth in such petition, Secretary of State shall transmit the same to the General Assembly as soon as it convenes, if said proposed law shall be passed by the General Assembly either as petitioned for or in the amended form, it shall be subject to a referendum. If it shall not be passed, or if it shall be passed in the amended form, or if no action shall be taken thereon within 4 months from the time it is received from the General Assembly, it shall be submitted to by the Secretary of State to the electors for their approval or rejection. So basically, it would go on our ballot. Then is what it would be within 4 months if it's not heard or done anything with it. Is what it is. That keeps going from there and stuff like that. This is the new stuff that's in it, though. It says any proposed amendment to the Constitution submitted to the electors as provided in section 1A and 1B of this article, if approved by at least 60% of the electors voting thereon, shall take effect 30 days after the election at which it was approved and shall be published by the Secretary of State. So that's the first part of it. Okay, it seems like that might be the only thing that's being changed in that. Okay, and then it says required number of electors, and then it talks about upping the number, basically is what it is. So yeah, it's not that hard. It's not that this is common sense legislation right here, dude. Legitimately, this is actually the most common sense piece of legislation I've ever seen in the state of Ohio, and besides constitutional carry, honestly, in the past like 13, 14 years that I've been, actually voting in this state is what it is. So now, granted, I've been voting longer than that. I've been voting almost 20 years now. But the entire point is, it's like, yeah, when this is my entire adult life that I've been paying attention to this state and the state house and stuff like that, it's ridiculous to have anybody have an issue with this. And the only reason they would have an issue with HJR6 is because of the fact that they want to push a bunch of crap into our state house is what it is, dude. They want to push a bunch of shit on our ballot initiatives in the state so they can push forward a bunch of crazy-ass leftist ideology into the state of Ohio without any kind of pushback is what it is, dude. And I'll be damned if I let that happen in the state, dude. Fuck these people. It's bullshit, dude, entirely. You have all these crazy fucking Democrats in the state, dude, that are some of the most psychotically insane people in the state of Ohio, who have no idea what the fuck half of them don't even know what the fuck their actual gender is anymore, dude. And you mean to tell me these people should have voting rights in this state or this country? Hell no, bro. Hell no. And it's like, at what point do we, the people, just be like, enough is enough of this shit, dude, for real? And that's what it was the other day. You had these fucking retarded pieces of shit the other day, man, come into the General Assembly and be like, one vote, one ballot, or some stupid crap like that is what they were screaming and stuff at the top of their lungs is what it was, dude. And it's like, bro, nobody's saying, that we shouldn't be able to pass stuff. What we're talking about is actually having it passed properly with a literal 3/5 majority is what it is. And that's why I kind of understand why they said 60% now instead of 75 or something like that, because, 3/5 majority. And I mean, hell, if you have a actual ratification of the Constitution at a federal level, it takes a 3/5 majority. If you want to do a complete referendum kind of thing, for a convention of states, it's like 38 states, dude. Which would again be like, I think it's like a 3/5 or a 4/5 majority at that point, or whatever the case be. And it's like, dude, again, it's just common sense at that point. Like, all this shit is common sense. The only thing that's not common sense is the crazy motherfuckers that are against it, And that's the thing with the left so much, dude. They want to bitch about common sense when it's on their fucking side and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, when it's not on their side, they're like, well, this is some bullshit. It's like, no, it's not. It's you being pissed off and being, in most cases, a whiny little cunt because you want to sit there and fuck over a constitution at state level is what it is, dude. And that's what so much of it is, honestly. It's these fucking people, these MDA types, these anti-life types, all that stuff, that just want to screw over Ohioans' rights is what it is, dude. They just want to sit there and bitch and moan some more about my body, my choice. But yet, as soon as it comes to people not wanting to take their jibbity jabs that, aren't even fully proven at this point, what the fuck they have as side effects in them. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh no, you have no fucking rights anymore. Or your body, your choice is out the fucking window now kind of thing is what it is, dude. It's just insanity with these people, man. It really is. It's complete psychotic behavior is what it is, dude. And I'm over here like, what the fuck, man? Very much so. Very much so. Because these people really are just fucking nut jobs, dude, is what it is. They're a bunch of cultists is what it is, dude. By definition, they're a bunch of cultists. They want to sit there and have their fucking cake and eat it too. And then want to bitch at you because you don't want to subscribe to their bullshit is what it is, dude. It's just ridiculous is what it is, dude. And it's why I'm always on here talking about the possibility of, very real possibility, honestly, of a day very soon in this country where you're going to have violence is what it's going to be, dude, unfortunately, in most cases. I mean, we've seen it happen in so many different election cycles over the years now, dude, where you just have these psychotic lunatics just come out of the fucking woodwork and are just, pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing some more until one day there's going to be a giant push back is what it'll be, dude. And I think we're coming very close to that push back right now. Very, very close. People have had it, man. And rightfully so. Like, that there is no reason to be in a situation where you have your livelihood destroyed, where you have your economy destroyed, where you have your entire life's work put under a fucking microscope, where you basically are told for a year and a half of your life, oh, you can't go outside because the germs might get you, etc., where you have unelected fucking people, by the way, I like to point that one out, dude, unelected supposed health directors that don't know their fucking ass from their elbow, and in half the cases aren't even medical doctors. Or if they are medical doctors, they should have their licenses stripped a long fucking time ago. They want to be like, oh, it's only going to be 2 weeks to slow the spread or 14 days to flatten the curve. You should have flattened your asses right then and there, honestly, dude, and been done with it. I mean that shit seriously when I say that. Like, these people should have all been flattened straight back into a police car, dude, is what it is. And hauled the fuck off to prison where they belong. For the shit that they've done against humanity at this point, which is all crimes against humanity at the end of the day. So, yeah, needless to say, it's a bunch of shit, dude. It's a bunch of shit that you have these insanely psychotic people who don't even understand that America has been a constitutional republic since 1776 and want to sit there and bitch and moan and babble on some more about, like, this is what a democracy looks like. We're not a democracy, you dumb cunts. We never have been. And it's always women, too, by the way. Like, that's one thing I want to point out right now. It's always left. Let me make that even clearer. It's always leftist women that are pushing that bullshit, dude. The liberal fucking nutcases that, by the way, are some of the most racist fucking cunts I've ever seen in my entire life, dude, when it comes to minorities. That they'll sit there and shit on those people's rights all the time is what it is, dude. And be like, oh, but I have this person that's a buddy of mine. It's like, they ain't your buddy, dude. They ain't your buddy, pal. They ain't your friend. They ain't your fucking nothing to you at that point. They're just some person that you're using as a fucking prop is what it is, because you're a sick son of a bitch is what it ends up being, dude. And that's the entire problem right now, dude. And it's all these people that think that they're so self-entitled and self-important and everything else like that when they're not. You know? My life. And, you know, if people want to sit there and bitch at me and be like, oh, well, what have you really done to help Second Amendment or Constitution or whatever the case be? Well, I can, you know, point to this thing and that thing and everything else like that, dude. Where I literally helped get the Constitution of the state of Ohio, you know, changed up a little bit to now be a constitutional carry state is what it is. And that's the thing, you know, people want to talk about that shit. And I'm just like, dude, like, I have done more legitimately in 4 years to help with 2A rights, at least in the state of Ohio, than most people have done their entire lives. You know, you got these people that are lifetime fucking FUD types and stuff like that want to sit there and suck the NRA's dick all the time and stuff like that, dude. And it's like, what have you really done except give money to Wayne LaPierre to make more private jet flights happen and stuff like that, dude? Like, what have you actually done personally? Have you ever called your state reps? Have you ever called your state senators? Have you ever called your federal reps or senators? Have you ever done anything to protect the Second Amendment in any way, shape, or form, besides giving money to some gun organization like the NRA? Because if the answer is no, then fuck you. Because I've done all that stuff many, many times, dude. I have spent days to weeks of my life at a time calling up, writing letters, doing all kinds of campaign shit, dude, to deal with people in my General Assembly and at a federal level as well on top of that. You know? Like, there's a lot of people that don't even, like, the sad part is, dude, there are so many people in this country that don't even know who their actual state reps are, let alone their federal reps. And it's like, bro, how the hell are you going to have voting rights if you can't even tell me who the fuck represents you? Like, that's what's insane to me. And I'm saying that for everybody across the board at this point, dude. I don't care if it's Democrat, Republican, Independent, Libertarian, Green Party, whatever the fuck, dude. If you can't honestly tell me in 2022 going on 2023 who represents you at any level, maybe you don't need to have voting rights in this country. Like, seriously. If you are that dense that you don't even know who the fuck represents you in this constitutional republic, what the hell are you doing, man? Number one. Number two, what the fuck are you doing, people? Seriously. It's ridiculous, dude. It's insane. Absolutely insane. And this is what I'm saying. Like, at some point in the future, things are going to change. Things are going to change very much in this country, dude. And you're going to have a lot of change happen very quickly in this country. You're going to have a lot of things happen very quickly. It's like we were talking about last night on Honda's chat when Duke showed up for the first time in weeks. I don't know where the hell he's been at, but I could really care less, honestly. But he came back around. And he even said it. He was saying about, all the craziness going on now and how he's looking at things from a different perspective nowadays and being like, hey, what's going to happen here? Like, where are we headed, basically? And I don't disagree with it, honestly, dude. Like, because even I'm that way at this point, I'm like, where are we headed? And every place I've seen and looked and stuff like that, it looks like a not good place, honestly, dude. It looks like we're heading towards destruction or some kind of inevitable, collapse scenario or something like that. And that's why I'll talk about that stuff constantly, dude, because there's a reason to talk about it. There's a reason to be prepared, is what it is. Like, if you're not prepared, then you're behind the curve at this point, man. And it's even, like I said, difference between like big city cops and small town police and stuff like that. In some cases, you have people, well, not in some cases, in every case, pretty much it seems like, you will have police officers in this country who are, by definition, held to account and held to a better standard is what it is, versus the people who aren't, versus people who actually want to sit there and fuck off and fuck around and everything like that and not be held accountable for their actions and stuff because they're indebted to mayors and stuff like that is what it is, police chiefs and actual like, major city police officers in this country compared to a sheriff's office where you actually have a sheriff who is elected by way of the people and then the deputies that tend to also take that sworn oath pretty, wholeheartedly in most cases where they're like, yeah, I'm not going to be, a puppet for fucking some mayor or some city council, wherever it's going to be. It's like, I am respected by the people of this state. They know where the fuck I live. If something ever happens, they can come for me kind of thing. Not that should ever be a case, but, the whole point of the matter is, it's like, yeah, we know where you live. Like, don't fuck us over, dude, kind of thing is what it is. Like, don't even try to do that stuff, honestly, because there's no reason to do it is what it is, man. And that's what it usually is, honestly. It's the fact that you know where they live. And that's one thing I've talked about before. If it comes to a collapse scenario and shit like that, you'll have a lot of these major city cops, dude, where they'll just simply pack their shit up and go to where the fuck ever, sort of start hiding out is what it is. And then they'll end up going off and doing their own thing and basically blending in with the crowd. You really think after the grid goes down in this country, you're going to see any cop in uniform in any city, especially a major city in this country, within even hours of that shit, dude? Fuck no. Those motherfuckers are going to be getting the fuck out of Dodge real quick, dude, because they know they're going to be targets is what it is if they don't. It's why they're going to flip back into their civilian clothing as quickly as possible, and it's why they're going to dip the fuck out is what it is. It's just like the same exact thing going back to what the hell's that movie called? The movie Inglourious Bastards, where and okay, just to clarify on this one, I'm not trying to equate cops and Nazis. I'm just trying to equate something to something else is what it is. So there was a thing in that movie where you had Brad Pitt's character asking the one Nazi dude who was one of the SS soldiers, like, what are you going to do when you leave here kind of thing, or whatever the case be, or what are you going to do with your uniform and stuff like that. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to take it off when I get home and I'm going to burn the motherfucker, basically. And that's what a lot of them would do, honestly, dude. You would have a lot of people do the exact same thing. They would basically burn their shit completely. And you would have everybody basically dip out is what it would be, man. They would have no ability at all to change anything. and you would simply just have them move along is what it would be. And I think in many cases, that's exactly what would happen. You'd have so many people that would just be. Sorry, I'm just looking at some stuff here. With the game I play, a bunch of people being assholes and fucking screwing dozens of people at other shit is what it is, because you're a bunch of dicks. But yeah, what the hell was I saying then? Oh yeah. So basically, it would be a situation where you would have everybody and their brother that is any kind of law enforcement and stuff immediately, dip out. They would immediately go to someplace else and stuff like that, and sort of just leave as quickly as possible and sort of flee the area. Where in that Inglourious Basterds movie, you had the people be like, yeah, I'm going to burn the uniform, or whatever the case be. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, honestly, in many cases for, law enforcement in this country in a grid down scenario where you just have a whole bunch of cops just decide, fuck it, there's no way I'm going to be caught out here with a uniform on, stuff like that. And they just torch the shit is what it is, dude. Or they even just toss down their uniform and then just take like a name tag with them or something, maybe. And then just burn the name tag later or something like that. Because I can see that being a thing as well, where it's like, it's not the actual, how am I trying to say this? Yeah, it wouldn't be the actual, like, tag or whatever that was, it wouldn't be the actual uniform that was banned, it would be the tag from the uniform that's actually burned. And to me, that would make a lot of sense from that perspective of stuff, because you would have them basically trying to get themselves in a case of knowing what the hell was going on, kind of thing, and being able to basically, turn tail and kind of run is what it would be, but do so in such a way where they would be kind of protected, I guess is what the best way to describe it would be, which is the case, I believe, in many cases, where they would be sort of protected then, because you would have, them being nobody knowing who the fuck they were, and essentially they would be able to sort of blend in with the crowd is what it would be. Whereas otherwise, they would end up being in a situation where people would know who the fuck they were and be able to target them and other stuff like that is what it would be. And I think that's where a lot of things would change, honestly, in this country, where you would have people who, a lot of people didn't know who they were previous to that time period or whatever, now not know who they are at all is what it is. And that's the big thing about major cities in this country when it comes to policing, is you have at least some sort of anonymity, because of the fact you can basically go from sorry, I had to throat's all jacked up, so it's one of my lungs. I think I have bronchitis again, is what it is, or at least the early on stage of it or whatever. But anywho, so basically the whole point is, though, is that you have, these cops in these major cities that can be in a suburb or whatever the case be. Like, they live in a suburb and then they go patrol like a major city. Like, they live in, let's go ahead and use Columbus, for example. So you have Columbus, Ohio, and then you have these, suburbs like Upper Arlington or Grandview or whatever the case be, that are really nice, real ritzy and shit like that, that actually have both housing that you can purchase there, or you can rent apartments and stuff like that there, or even like houses in some cases that are for rent and stuff. Who's to say that there's not a cop out there, renting an apartment or whatever the case be, or renting a house or whatever it is in like a Grandview or an Upper Arlington type of place or whatever. And then they go patrol downtown Columbus. They're part of the Columbus Police Department. Like that right there gives you a level of anonymity at that point, because all the people that know you as in that area would know you as that cop. They wouldn't know where you live. They wouldn't have any, real interaction with you other than that. And in many cases, it would be, that's their only interaction with police at this point in this country, dude. Where it's just some fucking cop who wants to be an asshole is what it is in most cases to these people. And, unfortunately, that seems to happen more often than not, is what it is. Where you just have, like, dickhead policing is what it is, dude. And it's unfortunate that becomes a thing more often than not. And there's actually zero reason for it. Like, there's no reason to be an asshole, dude. Unless, of course, you want to be that asshole and you want to fuck with people's constitutional rights is what it is, and deprive people of their constitutional rights. And now in some cases, that is how cops want to work, dude. They want to work that way. And they want to be that kind of jackbooted thug piece of shit is what it is. And those are the kind of people that should never be in law enforcement ever in this country, dude. It's just like that one motherfucker who killed that woman in Texas. That piece of shit, you had a psychiatrist recently come out and basically straight up say, this dude has like some kind of crazy narcissistic personality disorder kind of deal. Should have never been in this line of work to begin with. And he murdered a woman a couple of years ago is what it was. Shot her right through her fucking kitchen window is what it was, dude. So fucked up. It is probably one of the most disgusting stories I've ever heard in my entire life, honestly. And it just pisses me off to my core, honestly, dude. Very, very much so. Very, very much so. But yeah, needless to say, I think we've kind of gotten to a point, though, where... Oh, okay, I was looking at something real quick. I was like, wait a minute, we got... Because I was looking at this countdown clock, and I'm like, already gone here? What the hell? And I just realized now we're getting ready to do the fucking thing now. At like 3 o'clock in the morning. So it's a good thing I'm awake right now, honestly. But yeah, anyway, what I was saying was, though, the problem is when you have these people who want to do all kinds of shady shit and want to fuck around and destroy our country and everything else like that, and then think that, you know, all police are the same or every cop is an asshole, whatever the case be. You know, sort of the Antifa, BLM mindset of like the all cops are bastards thing. They don't understand the difference between, you know, major city policing and small town policing. And then in that same vein of things, you don't have people that are, you know, conservatives, right leaning, etc., that want to, you know, lick the fucking, you know, jack boots is what it is of police. Don't get that, like, you know, just because you have a good interaction with a local cop or whatever, or a local sheriff's deputy, whatever it is, you know, even your local sheriff for that matter, doesn't mean that there's not going to be some shithead fucking cop in a major city in this country, dude. That's going to do some shady shit is what it is. It's going to do some criminal stuff for that matter. And I think some of it, if not all of it, comes from the fact that, you know, I don't know if I really want to call it like hero worship or whatever the case be, or like police worship, whatever you want to call it there. I think a lot of it has to do with more the fact that you have people who want to see law and order respected. And for me personally, that's where a lot of my stuff comes from. I want to live in a country of law and order. I don't want a bunch of BLM and Antifa terrorists running around, burning everything to the ground, everything else like that is what it is. And if that means that you're going to have, you know, a brutalized law enforcement that's going to beat the fuck out of these people, then that's what it means. Should we have military police? Should we have militarization of police in this country? Fuck no. Was there ever a need for militarization of police in this country? Fuck no. And you can thank piece of shit motherfucker Obama for that one, dude. And like I've said many times, and this is why I'm trying to atone now for even that, dude. I voted for that dude. And I disagree with my younger self voting for that dude ever in this country. That was the worst mistake I ever made in my entire life, honestly, dude. Politically speaking. There's other worse mistakes I made in my life, honestly. Like speaking about Big Pharma, taking the pills that they gave me that one time that one doctor did, because that fucked up my life forever, basically, medically. And, yeah, but politically speaking, like, when it comes to voting in election cycles and stuff, Obama was the worst personal choice I ever made and cast a ballot for. Now, granted, Bush Jr., I believe, was the one that really started the shit, honestly, because he was the one that kind of, you know, was like, yeah, we need to do all this shit overseas and have all these MRAPs, military vehicles and stuff like that. And that's one thing that I think it was either Alex Jones that talked about it or somebody else like adjacent to him is what it was that was discussing that stuff. And they were basically talking about the weird, like, flip side of the coin kind of thing, where you have a Republican president who will get in office, and usually it was like these neocons like Bush and stuff like that. who will expand the military-industrial complex, and then the next, election cycle or whatever it is, like the pendulum swing happens and you have a Democrat get into office, they'll then go to the other side of the aisle and do policing at that point, militarize the cops then. And that's what you basically saw. You saw Bush Jr.'s administration, who, weaponized the military more and more and, gave more money and funding to the military industrial complex. And then you had Obama, when he got in office, take all that weaponry, all those MRAPs and stuff like that that were left, and all the, high caliber weaponry and stuff like that that our military was supposed to use, and gave it to police departments around this country. And then you basically had Trump, when he got in office, sort of do nothing. I think he kind of did expand the industrial complex a little bit, is what it was, dude. That being said, he never created any wars, never got us into any further conflicts or anything like that. And now you have Obama's proxy, Biden's ass, in office, unconstitutionally. I'll keep saying that every single day until he gets out of office, is what it is. You have that motherfucker basically doing the work of both sides now, where he's both expanding the military-industrial complex and expanding the militarization of police in this country. So it's just bullshit entirely, dude. And like I said, honestly, and this is something that Honda brought up in his chat last night, and I 100% agree with it, because this is something I've been talking about on here for the past year or two, off and on, is what we used to see in our parents' and grandparents' days was you had beat cops who would actually walk their fucking beats. They would get to know the people of the neighborhood. You would have, most of the people know who their county sheriff was by first name in most cases, or even in the major cities and stuff like that were little cities at the time. You would have a beat cop walking, their 6 or 8 block beat or whatever it was, and they would get to know, Mrs. Johnson or Mrs. Frank or whatever it was, or, Mr. Smith or whatever the people's names were at that point. Sometimes they would just call them by their last name. Sometimes they would be like, "Hey, Frank Smith, how's it going?" or whatever the case be. And, of course you would have those cops that would also hang out with the kids a lot of the time, dude. They would get to know the children of the area and stuff like that. You may have cops back in those days where you had these kids. Like I remember, and this is the way that Hollywood portrays a lot of movies and stuff back in them days in the 70s and stuff like that, dude. And this really happened in a lot of those cases, dude, where you used to have those kids be in the streets and stuff like that in the Brooklyn or the Bronx, whatever it was, in New York City there, and they'd be playing stickball, and sometimes you'd have a cop joining on the stickball game, is what it was, dude. And that's what it was. You would have these police that would actually know the neighborhoods that they patrolled in because they lived in the neighborhoods, dude, at the time. They don't do that anymore because they don't live in those neighborhoods anymore, dude. Actually, I think it was Dead Horse who told me probably about 2 years ago now. Or no, not quite that long. About a year, at least a year ago anyway. Probably about a year, 18 months, something like that. Where we were in a back chat one time with some of the people, and he was discussing Utah, and he was saying how there's a lot of cops in Salt Lake City area that live in a suburb like an hour and a half away from Salt Lake City, but they'll go into Salt Lake City and patrol that area. And it's just like the same thing with ex-cop Darren Wilson, I think that's what the guy's name was. He didn't live in Ferguson, Missouri, dude, but that was his beat to patrol. He was patrolling a neighborhood he did not live in. Now, granted, people want to sit there and take Michael Brown's side on that one. Those people are fucking idiots because that dude was a piece of shit criminal entirely. That kid had done all kinds of criminal shit. The only thing that happened in that situation was it was up to that point in history to not get caught for any of the crimes he committed at that point in time in history. And unfortunately, he made a fatal mistake by trying to grab that cop's gun that night, and it got him killed. That's why he had burn powder marks and stuff like that on his hands. Because he literally tried to grab the slide of the fucking gun and overpower that police officer and, got smoked for is what it was, dude. So, and unfortunately, it's a lot of the cases in a lot of those situations. One thing I think is interesting is if you watch, it used to be Live PD, now they call it OP Live because it's on a different channel. It's on Reels instead of A&E. I tend to watch that every weekend, actually, now. or at least like, you know, I'll catch up on it throughout, like maybe I'll DVR it or something like that, and I'll catch up on it throughout the week and shit like that's what it is. And I'll just watch a couple hours here and there and stuff. The thing is, one thing I've noticed, especially recently, because it's interesting, they actually follow a police department here in Ohio. It's in Toledo, Ohio area, which is one of the Democrat hell pocket areas. It seems to me like the people who tend to rage out the most are black males in traffic stops. Like, they had one guy on there the other day who was a black dude, and he was basically like freaking the fuck out, and they're just like, dude, calm the fuck down, like, you know, talk to us, like, why, like, and they were like, he's like, why am I being arrested? Why am I being arrested? Like, this is bullshit, bullshit. And they're like, dude, you literally rolled through like 4 different stop signs and kept going for like the past 3 blocks now or something like that. And they're like, that's why you're being pulled over, because you're failing to obey traffic laws, is what it is, like basic traffic laws. And he apparently couldn't get that through his head, is what it was. And he kept like fucking getting even worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And they're just like, here's the deal, dude. We saw you doing all that stuff. That's why we pulled you over. You know, we're not going to fucking listen to your shit anymore. Here is what it is. We're just going to take you to the jail. You can talk to your lawyer then, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And they, you know, did the Miranda rights up and everything else like that is what it was. And I think that's the problem right now. You have so many people that just want to bitch and moan is what it is, dude. And it's like, bro, you were 100% in the wrong in that situation. Like, if you had just fucking stopped, it probably wouldn't have been an issue. Yeah, you might have got a fucking, you know, speeding ticket or a traffic ticket or whatever the case be, but you're not going to be in fucking handcuffs in the back of a squad car going off to the station at some point, dude. And I think that's the biggest issue right now entirely. You have these people that will just sit there and keep doing that, dude. And then you want to have all these motherfuckers that are a bunch of, you know, criminals themselves that want to fleece society and stuff like that, want to basically embezzle a bunch of cash and stuff like that, or help their buddies in the DNC embezzle a bunch of cash through their organization. So you have Black Lives Matter being created. I'm not going to sit here and say that like some of the actual chapters of that thing aren't actually there to help, you know, black neighborhoods and stuff like that. Like, there's one in Virginia that actually is, dude. They just shouldn't call themselves a BLM chapter is what it is. Because they're actually for dads and shit like that is what it is, man. And for, you know, fathers being in their children's lives and stuff. And that's what we need more of, honestly, in this country. And like I said the other day with the Followers Homes thing, that's a way to fix that shit, dude. Get dads involved in stuff. Get uncles involved in stuff. Get grandfathers involved in stuff. Get men in the community that are good dudes that want to set an example for kids in the community. Get them to be fucking mentors for these kids, for God's sakes. You know, have them speak up about this shit. If they want to sit there and, you know, have a real voice, make real change, call out the motherfucking gangbangers in your goddamn neighborhoods killing everybody, dude. Call out the fucking Tyrones and the Pookies and everybody else like that, dude. Seriously. Call out these dumb motherfuckers like Jalen Walker, who did stupid shit and then got himself killed by the cops. Instead of the fucking retards and BLM, etc., that are like, let's do Walker Wednesdays and just walk every Wednesday for justice for this jackass. And then they want to bitch at the fucking cops for taking down his stupid ass posters the other day. And it's like, yeah, dude, because you're literally putting them up in places where you cannot legally put them up in the state of Ohio by our actual laws on our fucking books, you dumbasses. So that actually happened too, by the way. That was a news story the other day where people were talking about that, and they're like, yeah, the Akron Police Department has taken down these things with just this dude. And it's like, maybe because you made a giant fucking sign that's obstructing actual fucking stop signs and shit in the area, and then you wonder why it's being taken down, you fucking idiots. Maybe just leave it down, for God's sakes. Maybe stop trying to make yourself the center of attention there, Becky. Like, that's the one thing, again, going back to the white liberal chicks is what it is, dude. Like, they'll sit there and be the ones always acting and bitching and moaning about, like, Black Lives Matter this, Black Lives Matter that. But yet, when you actually have a message from a black person who cares about constitutional rights and stuff like that, they'll sit there and put their hand over that person's mouth to stop them from speaking is what it is, dude. And that's what it really is. It's these jackasses really which is pointing the attention to themselves is what it is, dude. If you really gave a shit about the stuff, dude, you'd be like, it doesn't matter that I'm creating this stuff, dude. Like, the message is that, you know, this guy was killed or whatever the case be. And the thing is, if they wanted to actually get real justice for somebody, dude, let's talk about Casey Goodson Jr., a guy who was actually murdered by police in this country. A dude who was doing nothing wrong, who was a Second Amendment advocate in the state of Ohio, who at the time, before constitutional carry, had his concealed carry license, had a firearm in the vehicle, not on his person at all. Fucking dumbass ex-cop Jason Meade claimed he saw Goodson driving past him, waving a gun, which he was not. And there's no body cam footage of that to dispute it otherwise, honestly. Because, shocker, fucking Franklin County Sheriff's Department didn't have body cams, neither did any of the fucking people that he was working with at the time, which was like federal agency, federal marshal people and stuff like that, which is just dumb as fuck entirely, dude. What it was is you had all these dudes, all these fucking cops that were all amped up, and they were like, we need to go beat somebody's ass today. And that's what happened with Casey. You had them be on a different thing, trying to look for a felony warrant suspect under federal marshal's command and stuff like that. And then fucking Meade was all like, well, I'm all amped up anyway. Let me go after this guy now. Because I thought I saw a fucking phone that looked like it was a gun, even though it wasn't a fucking gun. It was just a damn phone in the kid's hand where he's like, oh shit. And probably just fucking, if anything, it would have been a minor traffic stop, dude. It would have been literally him getting ticketed for like distracted driving probably or something, is my guess, honestly. But nah, he had his fucking headphones in his ears from his phone that he had music going on, walking into the house with a bunch of Subway for grandma and the other kids that were his younger brothers and sisters. Fucking Meade blows his fucking back out several times, killing him. Bunch of rounds right through his back. For fucking nothing, dude. It's disgusting. And that's exactly why Jason Meade, if I'm not mistaken, is being tried with first-degree murder in the state of Ohio right now. And he should get the death penalty here, dude. By firing squad. Because we should not be having firing squad of the fucking actual state death penalty at this point. We should have done it years ago, honestly, dude. Fuck lethal injection drugs, dude. Meade and all these other motherfuckers should die by firing squad, dude. He should die by firing squad. The fucking piece of shit criminals that killed Ace Lucas should die by firing squad. The motherfuckers that killed Ronan Sweeney should die by firing squad. That fucking piece of shit that killed Nilo Lattimore should die by fucking firing squad, etc., etc. There is zero fucking reason to let these motherfuckers live out their lives in our prison system, dude. When we have the ability and we have a very simple solution to be able to kill their asses for the crimes they've committed right now. And it is death warranting fucking crimes, dude. If you're going to take a life, you should be having to give up your life. If you're going to be tried with murder, which is what you committed in most cases, that is the end of you. Speedy fucking trials. Deal with these motherfuckers correct, dude. Just like that piece of shit Daryl Brooks in Waukesha, Wisconsin, dude. Drove through a bunch of people. The fucking families of the dead should be able to do the same fucking thing to his ass, dude. Turn that motherfucker into a human speed bump at this point. And be done with it. But that's the problem with Wisconsin's bitch asses, dude. They got rid of the death penalty years ago. Same thing with Michigan. Same thing with Michigan got rid of felony murder rule. I think it's still a death penalty is what it is. But they got rid of felony murder rule years ago. That's why that the kid who committed that attack at that high school a year or two ago, whatever it was, it's why his parents got tried with other stuff is what it was instead of felony murder rule. But yeah, you had Wisconsin get rid of it. You had Colorado get rid of it, and that piece of shit Jared Polis. You had a few other leftist states like that as well get rid of death penalty stuff. Which is dumb, dude. It's like, no, if that be the case and you're going to have a state do that and somebody commits like atrocious acts where they should die, then it needs to be a federal death penalty at that point, dude. And that case needs to be taken up a notch to federal status, and they should be able to be handed down a federal death penalty in a very fucking timely manner at that point. It's stupid as fuck to have serial killers from the 1970s, 80s, 90s still sitting on death row in this country, dude. Like, why the hell are you still keeping these fuckers alive, dude? Seriously. It's asinine as shit, honestly, dude. So fucking dumb. And it's the same thing across the board with so much of this other shit, dude. It's like, no, it's time to kill killers. It's time to kill child molesters, dude. Seriously. Why is there not already one strike laws on our books for child molesters, dude? If you hurt a child, if you sexually abuse a child, you should no longer be alive in this country. Ever. And if you're going to get caught with a bunch of fucking child porn and everything else on your computer and shit like that, dude, and it can be proven that you were the person that downloaded that shit and stuff like that, dude, or you acquired it, whatever the case be, then no, your ass should be sitting in prison for decades of your life. That is what it is. And if you ever get back out, then you should be legitimately registered and be nowhere within the vicinity of a kid ever again is what it is. Within like 1,000 feet of a child anyway, dude. That's if we ever let you back out of prison after that, dude. Now, granted, then, that being said, with that whole thing, to add a caveat to that, the reason why I said specifically it would have to be proven that you actually were the one that, came into possession of it by your own will and stuff like that. Because unfortunately, when you start looking at how corrupt our fucking federal government is anymore these days with the Fed boys and shit like that, dude, they will plant fucking child porn on people, dude. They've done it to Alex Jones in the past. They put shit on his servers and stuff like that to try to fuck him over. You had other people hack into people's shit and try to do it that way and stuff like that. All these deep state hackers and shit like that, dude. So, yeah, it would definitely have to be proven that, like, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that these people had it by their own, admission, basically, is what it is, without, self-incrimination kind of thing. It would have to be basically figuring out a way to, like, prove 100% that it was their stuff, not, hey, there's obviously a trail, like, if you go deep enough, there's a trail here that proves that this was, like, implanted into their servers and shit like that, dude, or implanted onto their network, wherever it is at that point then. Because I believe that there is definitely people in this country right now that, have a problem with, government is what it is, dude, have a problem with tyrannical government specifically, that they would definitely try to fuck over that way. Like, why wouldn't you, dude? If it's a good fucking, if you can basically get away with it, why wouldn't you try to do that way, honestly? So, but yeah, if you're going to be, if it can be proven that you did stuff with a child, though, no, you should never see the light of day again. You should be going straight to the fucking death chambers at that point, man. Or if you get, or I would say the same thing with the whole child porn thing. If you're busting a sex sting that's involving minors, dude, no, your ass needs to never see the light of day ever again. Then is what it is. There was a great series on Investigation Discovery this past year. It was called Undercover Underage, and it was about this chick. I forget which state she was in, if it was Maryland or Connecticut or one of those states like that. And she was like, I don't know, 30, 35, somewhere in there. And she was basically acting like a 14, 15-year-old girl, which the only issue I have with that series entirely is it's like, how is that not kind of entrapment in some cases? And the reason I say that specifically is because of the fact that you are making this stuff up for these people to find, kind of thing is what it was. Because that was the whole point of the series, it was basically her and like a team of like 4 or 5 other people. I think it was like one guy and like 3 other chicks or whatever. And yeah, they were basically making up like these fake profiles on different sites and stuff like that, and then being like, "Oh, we found a dude or whatever that's now like interested in our decoy account and shit like that." And they were basically like, "What do you want? What do you want here, bro?" Or whatever the case be. And like a lot of the times, the guys were like legit forward about it and being like, "Yeah, I just want to, They were all like just talking about like banging underage teens and shit like that. In many cases, or doing like sexual stuff with kids is what it was, dude. But in other cases, though, it very much seemed like it could have been considered entrapment in some cases because of the fact that they were the ones, had they not put those various, decoy accounts and stuff like that out there, that person would have never found that and been put in that situation. But then again, if that be the case, they may have actually found an actual kid who was around the same age that they may have actually gone after then, if that be the case. You know what I'm saying? So it is kind of like a weird thing on that one. And again, I'm not trying to be on like any kind of pedo side on that side. Fuck all those people, man. Seriously. What I'm trying to specifically state is like, there is a very fine definition between like, hey, this person was obviously looking for this kind of thing or whatever, and like some kind of weird entrapment stuff. And that was the one thing. There was a kid here in Ohio, actually, a few years back now, who was doing the same kind of stuff. He was faking to be, I think it was like a 14 or 15-year-old or something like that. And he was some YouTube punk ass, and he was going around meeting with people and are going to meet like dudes at fucking various like Walmarts and shit in this area. And he was then basically trying to entrap them into different stuff. And even the cops basically told him he was, because the big difference, honestly, between that kid and the woman and her team and stuff like that was they actually did enough of a job there to where they were trying to gather evidence and stuff like that, and basically provide enough evidence to law enforcement. That is what it was, for it to be like, yeah, you actually have a case here that this person's like clearly trying to meet up with an underage child and stuff like that, and you have enough to bust them or something like that. And in some cases, the people that they were catching were like multi-time convicted felons already that were already doing stuff with kids. They had gotten back out of prison in a different state is what it was, and then came to this state and kept doing their sick ass shit is what it was, dude. And that's the thing. Like, that's what pisses me off so much when you have pieces of shit scumbag criminals in our government like Katie Porter. For those who don't know who Katie Porter is, she is a California Democrat who is a current federal congresswoman. And specifically, the other day, she was talking about basically pedophiles and saying that pedophilia wasn't a crime. And then, of course, you have all these douchebags like fucking fake news Snopes and shit like that trying to fact check the stuff as, oh, she never fucking said that being a pedophile wasn't a crime. Bullshit, she didn't, dude. There is literal fucking video evidence of the shit of her bitch ass legitimately saying stuff about these fucking people who are actual child molesters in this country and how they shouldn't be treated as criminals by default and stuff like that. Like, it's fucked up, dude, entirely. And I guarantee you, if this bitch was looked into, man, she was probably has child shit on her at this point, dude. Like, she's probably raped kids in this fucking country, honestly, at this point. Or bare minimum been at parties where there was kids raped is what it is, dude. So, yeah, she's a sick fucking cunt, dude, for real. She is a disgusting fucking woman, dude. And like I said, I cannot put up with these fucking pieces of shit like her, dude. Because they are absolute fucking scum. Is what they are, scum of the fucking earth of this country, dude. And when I talk about California not needing 50 plus fucking representatives, this bitch needs to be the first on the fucking list, tossed the fuck out of office at this point, dude. Over this shit alone. It's as simple as that. Like, I am so fucking sick of it, dude. But yeah, going back to the thing about the entrapment stuff, the difference between obviously the undercover underage series there was that woman and her team were actually giving the evidence to police, whereas the kid that was doing YouTube stuff, who was like 19, 20 years old, was simply doing his own fucking thing, meeting up with these, potential pedos and stuff like that. And that's why the cops were like, bro, stop doing this shit. We're going to charge your ass with entrapment, because that's what he was doing. He could have basically gotten the cops involved at any point in time and been like, hey, I was doing something for, my YouTube channel online or whatever the case be. These people think I'm a 14-year-old. Like, this is all the logs I have of them, like, basically trying to entice me to go do stuff or whatever the case be, like sexualized material and stuff. Like, here you go. Because the thing is, like, one of the people this kid got was like a fucking local coach at some high school. And this is what I'm saying, dude. Like, there is zero reason for those people to be in any kind of position of authority after that, dude. But the problem is that when you're not doing it with the help of law enforcement, you actually are basically committing entrapment against these people is what it is, dude. And for those people wondering what I'm saying here with entrapment, this is basically a definition of entrapment here, which is basically the state of being caught in or as in a trap, the action of tricking someone into committing a crime in order to secure their prosecution. And that's what it really is at the end of the day, dude. It's basically, and that's why I'm almost against sex things as well on that one, dude, because there was one of those happen here in Ohio the other day, and it's like, yeah, if these cops hadn't set that up or whatever the case be, these dudes would have never driven down there to meet up with the so-called prostitute or whatever the case be and gotten fucking busted. So it's like, again, how is that not entrapment kind of thing, And we can get into talk all day about like why, legalized prostitution should be a thing right now in this country for consenting adults. But I'm not going to get into that talk is what it is right now, dude, because I don't really have the time to do it. But I will talk about the thing the other day. actually trying to look up the prostitution sting here. Prostitution sting, STIG. It should pop up right here. Let's see. Yeah, here you go. Prostitution sting by Stark County authorities results in 17 arrests. This is from 2 days ago. This is my county, by the way, that I live in. So, pretty fucked up, man. But, yeah, it says, Stark County, Ohio, a prostitution sting done by Stark County authorities on December 8th resulted in 17 arrests. Jackson Township Police Department and Summit County Sheriff's Office conducted an investigation into human trafficking, which, again, I have no problem with them getting, people off the streets that are part of human trafficking, stuff like that, dude. These young girls, these young guys that are caught up in the shit, taken by fucking cartels a lot of the times and put in those kind of lives. Not okay, bro. And I also have no problem with these kind of stings happening when you're talking about, these sickos trying to meet up with young kids and stuff like that, dude. No. We need to get these damn pedos off the fucking streets is what it is, bro. Seriously. But, anyway, it says several men were encountered during a single-day operation. 47-year-old James Cooney is the exec director of admissions and enrollment strategies at Stark State College. Jesus Christ. Let's see. It said 19 News talked to Stark State College, and they stated Stark State College strives to act as the best interest for our students, faculty, and staff. College placed the employee on leave as soon as they became aware of the investigation regarding the incident. So basically, you had a dude who was all about the enrollment process at a local state community college here. A community college I almost went to, by the way. One that is legitimately not far from, their campus is not far from where I have my local gun shop at, actually, in Belden Village area. If you know where that's at, you know where pretty much I'm talking about. If you don't know where that's at, then, whatever. I don't care, honestly. That's my general location around the state, and that's all I'll talk about it right there, honestly, dude, and I'll leave it at that, really, what it is. So, anyway, so the following people answered an online advertisement offering explicit sexual services in exchange for payment. So, literal legal prostitution is what they're talking about here, man. So, following individuals arrested and charged with engaging in prostitution and possession of criminal tools included Dwayne T. Murray, 31, of Kent, Ohio, Willie A. Fountain III, 46, of North Jackson, Ohio, Michael E. Leon, 53, of Dover, Gervong, sounds like a made-up name, by the way, or Gervang, maybe? Probably a fucking foreign national of some kind, honestly, dude. Yep, looks like an Indian foreign national guy. 34 of Akron, Ohio. Joseph Sherwood, 45, of Medina. Michael Hoover, 39, of Canton. James P. Cooney, 47, of Brunswick. That was the school administrator for Stark State College. Keith D. LaRue, 50, of Salem. That's pretty far away, by the way. Let's see. Terry Renner, 64, of Massillon. Raiv, not even sure I pronounce that guy's last name. I guarantee that's an Indian foreign national. 38 years old, of Aurora, Ohio. Most likely formerly of India. Robert L. Kessler, 50, of Massillon. Robert D. Hoover, 61, of Chagrin Falls. It's pretty far away from here. Let's see. Walter L. Martin, 53, of Akron. Robert J. Yoder, 49, of Apple Creek. William H. Coonsey, 58, of Covington Township, and Derek Rucker, 60, of Akron. Also said 48-year-old Shane L. Grimmel from Canton was charged with the following: engaging in prostitution, a first-degree misdemeanor; possession of criminal tools, another first-degree misdemeanor; possession of drugs, a level 5 felony; and aggravated trafficking in drugs, a level 4 felony. So yeah, that guy's a multi-time felon now. Good for you, Shane, dumb motherfucker. What they were talking about with that dude was he basically had like roofies and shit. He was definitely going to try to kidnap the chick that was the technical prostitute in the situation, which happened to be the cops. So good on that shit, dude, for real. But anyway, yeah, just absolutely ridiculous entirely, dude. Then we had caught on cam Lorraine Chick-fil-A employee sprints after car to return customer's credit card. So good guy Chick-fil-A employee? Got to keep it on a light note sometimes, man, for real. But yeah, just fucking ridiculous entirely, man. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. We may actually just watch this whole thing, actually, because there's probably like a couple minutes here is what it is. Yeah, about 2 minutes here, so let me go ahead and flip on some volume with this.
Their big story, more than a dozen busted in a multi-agency prostitution sting. First at 4, we told you police lured the suspects to a motel with online ads.
Now, all new at 6, Caitlin McCarthy digs deeper on one of the men arrested. As we discovered, turns out he works in a very high-ranking position at a local college.
Jesus.
19 News has confirmed one of the men arrested is the executive director of admissions for Stark State College. He's one of more than a dozen men arrested by Jackson Township Police for engaging in prostitution. And police hope this sting reminds people this won't be tolerated in the community.
We have people who set up and put themselves up.
Again, this wouldn't be an issue if you simply legalized prostitution in the state of Ohio and nationwide for that matter, and you actually had legal brothels in these states where you had testing constantly of the workers in them, dude. Now, granted, would it actually create a black market of more human trafficking and stuff like that? Perhaps, maybe. Or would it simply just out that already existing market out there of human trafficking and stuff like that, and we could actually easily catch it more, is what it would be. I think that would be a more solution to that whole thing, honestly, personally. That's just my opinion on it.
And portray themselves as people looking for partners for types of encounters, we'll say.
Types of encounters, sex encounters.
Are made, details are given, and they arrive. And
honestly, this mayor dude reminds me of Major. He's a cop. This dude reminds me of some guy who was busted recently in Ohio for one of these things themselves, and they were like former law enforcement or whatever.
Discovered as undercover officers.
Cops bust 17 jobs at a Jackson Township motel. The sting happened here on December 8th. They asked us to not disclose the name of the motel, but we can tell you
I know exactly
it
where
was
that's
near
at.
I-77.
I know exactly
Throughout
where that's
the day,
at.
John's showing up here expecting sex. Instead, a big, unwelcome surprise. They were met by undercover cops. We discovered one of the men arrested is James Cooney. He's a director of admissions at Stark State College.
That dude looks like a creepy fuck too, man. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. That particular picture, that dude just looks, he just looks like a creepy son of a bitch.
The college tells us in a statement, Cooney was placed on leave as soon as they became aware of the incident.
As we know.
Actually, I'm going to go back on this for a minute because honestly, like that dude from Stark State, man. Yeah, that dude looks like every motherfucker ever once they take off the dog gimp masks, dude. Seriously. Like this is the kind of motherfucker who's out at rallies being like, my body, my choice, my body, my choice. Kind of shit for all the chicks or whatever the case be, or he's like, abortion ally or some crap like that sign that he's holding or whatever the case be. It's like, yeah, these are the kind of motherfuckers that want to fuck around with a bunch of females and then don't actually want the long-lasting effects, being a child or children for that matter. So, yeah, just a piece of crap is what it is, dude.
Director of admissions at Stark State College. The college tells us in a statement, Cooney was placed on leave as soon as they became aware of the incident.
Should have been fired immediately, dude.
Typically,
Fuck that.
These type of offenses take places throughout the country. A lot of times hotels are targeted and often used for these kind of things. We understand
they're always used for those kind of things, dude.
Message that we're not going to tolerate it.
Major Jim Monagold says his department has done several of these in the past. This one particularly successful with those 17 arrests.
They're very time consuming. There's a lot of work that goes into them.
So what does all this add up to? Well, Jackson Township Police say they have zero tolerance for prostitution, and you can call them if you suspect this kind of activity in your neighborhood.
No joke. That news reporter chick, that Caitlin McCarthy, I would dick her down for hardcore, man. I'm just saying, man. If she's single and ready to mingle, I'm here. So, but nah, seriously though. But yeah, that's actually pretty gross right there. Popeye shuts down over video showing cockroaches on an order. Nasty. That's some sick ass shit right there. That's just some filthy motherfuckers right there, dude. So, anyway. Body found wrapped in plastic in Parma house identified as missing 30-year-old homeowner. Missing 30-year-old. A homeowner in that place was arrested. Fucking crazy, dude. Meteor blazes across northeast Ohio sky with green glow. Oh shit, bro. Oh shit, Maximum Overdrive's coming for real now. Nah, seriously though, like, if you've never seen that movie, man, that fucking that meteor asteroid thing or whatever that was in that film, it was literally like a green trail behind it, bro. So I swear to fucking God, if this computer kills me in the next 10 minutes, I'm gonna be really fucking pissed. Although to be fair, that was the one thing that always bothered me about that movie, actually, is that it was supposed to be like all electronics or whatever. That had gone like a homicidal maniac rampage kind of thing or whatever, dude. But yet it was oddly convenient that the arcade area just killed the one dude and then nobody else. Like, it was fine after that, apparently. But then it was just all like the monster trucks that were, or sorry, all the 18-wheelers that were going fucking nuts, and is what it was, dude. And becoming like sentient and self-aware and stuff like that. So, yeah, very strange film. Definitely the continuity in that film is not up to par, is what it is. But then again, it was a 1980s kind of, you know, shoot 'em up and stuff like that, if you want to call it that, which I kind of consider it to be that way, because there was quite a bit of you know, gunfire and explosions and stuff like that in that film. And it makes sense that they would not have that kind of continuity and stuff like that, dude. But because, of course, you know, like everybody in that place would have been dead, then is what it would have been. But yeah, it just seems kind of odd, though, that they don't actually, you know, do that kind of stuff, is what it is, though. And that's one thing that does piss me off about a lot of movies and stuff like that, dude, is even the things that don't make any sense here or there from like different films and shit, they continue to not make any sense after that, is what it is, dude. Like when you go back and do like rewatches and stuff over the years. So kind of like how there's one thing in that particular movie where you have them reloading a one-use rocket launcher that can never be reloaded, by the way. And then what's even more retarded is the guy fires the motherfucker off, gets killed, and then it was the waitress chicken that picks it up, which it should have been out of ammo at that point because it only had the one rocket in it that was already fired off and stuff. And then when she gets killed, another rocket suddenly flies out of the fucking thing. Like, what the fuck? Like, there's so many contingency errors in that movie, it's not even funny, dude. And as someone who is autistic, it pisses me the fuck off, dude, because it's those little like nitpicky things that I can pick out of that and be like, this is fucking bullshit, fuck you, kind of thing. Like, at least make it make sense, honestly, and it doesn't make any sense because it's so like nonsensical is what it is. But yeah, like I said, though, what's interesting to me too, actually, and kind of sad in that same vein of things, is that you had them put out that many like invest so much time or whatever for this prostitution sting here, and you only net 17 arrests. Like, you couldn't even get double fucking digits, dude. Like, you couldn't even get above 20, you know? I mean, they got double digits, but they couldn't get like above like 24, at least 24 anyway. Like, seriously, that's a pretty big fail to me, honestly, dude, especially how much money was probably used in this shit. Like, nah, bro, like, again, legalize prostitution. Tax it. You know? Like, make actual legal brothels in this country. Make some tax revenue off of them and stuff like that. And then if you have, you know, some kind of shit with like human trafficking or whatever the case be, or whatever it is, dude, use the money from the legal brothels, the tax revenue coming from those, to go after actual human trafficking in this country. Like, honestly, it's a self-error. What am I saying here? It is a thing that becomes a self-deleting error, is what it is, dude. You legalize it and you go after the illegal activity, is what it is, dude. It's like the exact same thing with drugs. You know, you legalize all drugs, you make a bunch of government created fucking you know, pharmaceutical places or whatever the case be, that you could go into a shop or whatever the case be, and it's like anything from like meth to heroin to, you know, whatever else you want at that point, dude, that we legalize drugs in this country, like street drugs and shit, that would be pure uncut stuff that have been tested as pure for purity standards and stuff like that, dude. And then you use that money, the revenue coming from that and stuff, to then go bust street dealers and shit like that that are selling all kinds of fucking jacked up shit like fentanyl-laced fucking heroin or fentanyl-laced cocaine or something like that, dude. Or just fentanyl in general, you know? Like, again, the war on drugs itself was a giant fucking failure from the jump, dude, because all it did was allow the drugs to win. All it did was allow cartels to get a foothold into our country, which they've done for decades now. It's the exact same thing along the lines of prostitution now. You know, they've gotten into human trafficking and stuff like that because because a lot of times, honestly, when it comes to drugs now, the United States that used to be the final stop for them is not the final stop for them anymore. We're just a middleman, basically, for them to ship them out of country then and into places like Russia and shit. So, honestly, we would be so much better off as a country right now entirely if government just honestly kept its fucking nose out of shit while at the same time doing what's best for the citizenry. And what's best for the citizenry, honestly, at this point, would be legalize prostitution, legalize all drugs, put tax revenue on them, use that tax revenue to go after illegal shit. And it would be for the betterment of everybody at that point, dude. You know, instead of having a bunch of, like, seriously, prostitution specifically is the oldest profession in the fucking world, dude. It's been around since man existed, basically. You've had chicks figure out ways to get something off of a dude, and, you know, for their betterment in most cases. And then sometimes after that, you had some other dude be like, I can make some money off of this. And that's where pimps came from. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, those pimps, nowadays, especially here in 2022, going into 2023, many of them are human traffickers, dude. Many of them have ties to cartels and shit. Many of them have taken young girls, young guys, etc., supplied them with drugs, and kept them doped the fuck up to be their fucking meal tickets, is what it is, dude. To have them used and abused by others so that they can then take the money and go spend it on themselves and shit like that. And it's disgusting, dude. It's absolutely sickening. The big difference between that, obviously, and legalized prostitution is, in legalized prostitution, every person involved, whether it be a guy, a gal, whatever the case be, you know, if it's a woman selling her body or if it's a guy selling his body, whatever the case be, those people are doing that for themselves. They are making pretty much all the money that they can off of that. Obviously, the house is going to take their cut, and then it's going to be the government on top of that taking their cut, and tax revenue is what it is, dude. And this is what I'm saying. That could easily be a self-correcting problem because you have legalized prostitution dealing with illegal stuff, illegal sex trafficking, illegal prostitution, all that stuff like that, dude. And you have the ability for people to do what they want to do then. And that's where, honestly, my libertarian side of my mindset comes in at. That's where my internet libertarian side comes in at. People should be able to do what the fuck they want to do, man. They shouldn't have the government holding over their fucking heads, what they're going to do and stuff like that. As long as no one is getting hurt. If everybody's a consenting adult in that shit, dude, it should be fine. It should be legal. It should be everything else. The issue I have, and this is exactly where the revenue would come in for to fight this kind of shit, is when it's people that are being held against their will and being forced to do stuff, or it's children being held against their will and being forced to do stuff. That is where that tax revenue should be going to help. It should be going to get those people out of the fucking thing is what it is, dude. And if they can better themselves in life after that, and they can become a better, productive member of society, that's all that matters at the end of the day. And that's really all that needs to be said at the end of the day. And like I said, going back to the original topic of this today, House Joint Resolution 6 is the first thing that the Ohio General Assembly needs to pass in 2023, period. It is one of the smartest pieces of legislation I've ever seen come out of this state house, come out of this General Assembly entirely. And it's just common sense at this point, dude. It is unlike Moms Demand Action, you want to bitch about common sense gun laws. No, this is an actual common sense law, dude. It's a common sense law to have 3/5 of the population of the state of Ohio that is voting needed to pass something to amend our Constitution, not fucking 2 million some jackasses that are a bunch of Democrat voters that sway enough people to their fucking side and then try to amend our Constitution with stupid bullshit like fucking Democrat gerrymandered maps or fucking some other retarded bullshit like abortion on demand or fucking we're going to strip your gun rights or we're going to introduce red flag legislation through some ballot measure, whatever the case be, dude. Fuck that. Fuck all of that shit, dude. And you know damn well that's what they're going to try to push in the next couple of years if this shit keeps going on the way it is right now, where it's only a 50% plus one vote margin instead of a 60% vote. And the thing is, I totally understand why they're doing this, the way they're doing it, man, because when you look at our last election cycle, where you had the people voting on both amendments there, where it was basically to improve our Constitution, to make it so that you could have criminal justice reform to make criminals that are clearly threats to society be in prison with higher bails or not allowing illegals to vote in our country at all, for that matter, at any election level in this state. Both of those passed with over 60% of the vote is what it was, dude. I think they were like 60 to 64% of the vote somewhere in there, maybe 66 even in some cases. Because I know one was higher than the other, actually, is what it was. And as far as I can remember, both of them passed by over 60% margins at this point, dude. So, needless to say, like, there's no reason for it not to be that way, honestly, dude. There's zero reason for it to not change right now when it should have already been that way for decades, honestly. So, anyway, that's pretty much it for today. I got some stuff I got to do. Specifically, I should have done about a half hour ago, probably. And I'm going to do that real quick before time expires on me. So, until later, I will see you guys in the next one. I'll obviously be on sorry. Fucking getting tired again. I got up like a few hours before Honda's chat last night, and I've been fucking sleepy as shit ever since then, dude. I think it's just because my body ain't getting the sleep that it needs right now, and I'm just like so shitty is what it is. I think I just need to take about 8 to 12 hours and just nap out for like half a day, basically, at this point. But anyway, as I was saying, though, yeah, the entire point is that you have a situation where the people should be the ones speaking on things, and we should be able to do what needs to be done to secure a free and fair election. And when you cannot ensure a free and fair election because you have a bunch of fucking assholes that are trying to fuck with our shit or trying to fuck with our constitutional rights or whatever the case be, doesn't really matter, honestly, dude. When they're trying to scumbag, when they're trying to criminalize, when they're trying to, fuck over Americans, enough is enough of the shit, dude. Enough is enough of it, honestly, dude. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely insanity to see what we have done as a nation not being respected right now, dude. And that's the thing with most of these ballot initiatives. It's them not respecting the will of the fucking people, dude. There is a reason why the General Assembly of Ohio will not pass anti-gun shit, because it is fucking unconstitutional in 99% of the fucking cases, if not 100% of the fucking cases. There is a reason why people like me are advocates for the Second Amendment and the rest of the Constitution, because we're sick and fucking tired of these fucking assholes trying to take away our damn rights right now, dude. I have personally fucking had it with Mamas Demand Action and Company, dude. They do absolutely fuck all for this state at all, dude. All they are is a goddamn thorn in the side of actual constitutionalism. They don't give a shit about anybody's rights and just want to fuck over our shit is what it is, dude, because they themselves are a bunch of fucking nut jobs who cannot stand themselves being armed, so they want everybody else disarmed. Because they're a bunch of lunatics. And it's like, just because you're a fucking lunatic that can't handle a gun or can't handle yourself having a gun or whatever the case be, doesn't mean you should have the right to take away my fucking rights, bitches. Or anybody else's for that matter. Y'all are 100% the fucking problem in this country, dude. And if you're not originally from the state of Ohio, if you're from Connecticut or some other fucking state, why don't you fuck off back to that state, dude? Because we don't want you here. We don't need you here. And we don't need your liberal fucking bullshit fucking up the state of Ohio ever again is what it is. And it's as simple as that. And that's all I'm just about at the end of the day. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you all in the next one.